welcome to Gentry's Garage. In this video, we're going to be covering the first part of the suspension changeover that we're going to be doing. And the reason we're stopping on the motor mount is because when we picked up the Rockwell T13627 transfer case, it made that job super easy, because we're going to mount that T13627 transfer case and we're going to line everything to it. That gives us our reference point. Also, with the difference between the MP205 and the 136 input shaft height, it changed the whole geometrics of the whole thing. So that's why we're going to do this, because cribbing up the frame to do the suspension, we don't have to worry about the transmission transfer case in the way, and it's just better time to do it. Now why am I changing this suspension? This suspension was actually a very excellent design and way ahead of its time. They didn't come back to the suspension until the 90s with the rock crawlers. What is it called nowadays? It's a 3-link suspension. Okay? And if you take out this leaf spring and you change it to a coilover, you've got a modern suspension. But again, why am I changing it? The major reason is weight and the fact that the upper link cannot be mounted with the engine trans because it's too wide. It's a lot wider than the Jimmy 302. Another thing is it's worn out, and I'd have to replace it. You know, trying to source, this 1952 stuff is going to be hard, but it still can be found. But that's more money. The third reason is because the M35 system is a heck of a lot lighter. And why is that important to me? Because most of you guys can get away with a historical plate. I, on the other hand, where I live, a historical plate would mean that I'd have to have it in the driveway, couldn't park it on the street, and I'd be limited on mileage. I'd have to be going to a show. And considering where I live, that would be a problem. So I want to drive it every day. So I'm going for the regular California commercial plate. And weight, you have to have a weight slip when you're registering a vehicle for the first time. So the less weight means the less taxes, and it's cheaper for me in the long run. Now, let's go to the front and show you the M35 shackle hangers and the first part of the process. All right, so now we're here at the front shackle, and we've got a couple of things going on. The biggest thing that we have going on is the fact that this bolt, well, actually it was a rivet, but we're going to be using a bolt. But this rivet here is going to line up with this one here, and that's really not good for frames. Okay, we're 7/8 apart, which is two 3/8 away, which is decent. But the fact that it's in a direct line is not very good at all. Another thing is, whenever possible, 100% stay away from drilling holes in your flanges. That's what really weakens these frames, okay? And since on the bottom we've got 2 rivets, and again they're separated far enough that it's all right, but because it's in a flange, we're gonna put the strength back in it. And by doing that, how to do that is, I took a 3x8 box rectangular tubing, and I sliced it. and I sliced it at 7.5 so that I have enough area to trim it down. And also, I do not know the engineering of it, but having a little bit of a lip here helps with a stress riser. I probably have a little too less to really do any good, but it still helps a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this in till it fits inside the frame rail. Another thing, another rule of thumb, whenever you're drilling with a frame and whatnot, is you always try to have at least twice the diameter of your bolt or rivet before any corner, end, or whatever. Okay, and there's another one that I'm not remembering, and that's the distance from the flange to the center. I think it's like 2 inches, but don't quote me on that because I don't remember. But so what's going to happen is we're going to trim this to size. We're going to drill our pre-existing holes, and then we're going to mount this one and drill those holes also, so that we strengthen our frame from where we made it a little bit weaker by drilling the extra holes. All right, people. So much for that idea. I'll tell you, we ran into some problems. So on the first one, after I cut this piece and I started laying it out how I originally planned, which was inside here, where these holes were too tight, okay, to this edge. I don't think I could have gotten a decent fastener on it. Second problem that I ran into was when I put this on, I really didn't realize that it was really tight in there also. I mean, it's too close, and we would have the frame would rip. Okay, so that was project one. I had this piece from my rock crawler days, but it's a little bit too short, and we could have made this work. It actually does line up pretty well with this, but it would raise the spring up too high, and it'd change our caster way too much, and we wouldn't be stable. So I went for plan C, and plan C, when I drew it all up and figured it out, I was minus material. I looked at the website, and my local steel supplier that has really good remnants but very high prices said that they weren't selling remnants right now, only full orders due to the China virus. So we came up with plan D, and plan D is going pretty well, and I will show you where we're at. Okay, so I want to touch on one thing, and this is about on-the-road stability. It was found that when you ran a shackle on the front of a spring setup, on the front suspension, that it articulated much better, but its on-the-road stability suffered. So we are going to eliminate the front shackle and keep the rear one. So I measured from the bottom of the frame to the center of the shackle pin, and I got 5 inches. Okay, so that's there. And we're going to have the brace up here on the top, similar to what we did on the rear suspension when we singled out the rear suspension. And you know, we've got this cut out already, and we're going to cut this out tonight, and we're going to weld it together. Also, I was able to get the piece for the HF54 power steering conversion out of my available steel with this new design. New redesign, I should say. Anyway, I thought I'd keep you up to date. Please like and subscribe. It helps us out, plus it puts the video up higher for people that are looking for it. Thank you.